Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's service. Nice to see many of you here today. I think there's a lot going on today. There's, for our community group, there's a Hōkai luncheon honoring our pioneers 80 years and over. That'll be in the Annex Hall later this afternoon. Some of the Dharma school families are attending the Orange County Buddhist Church service this morning, so they can see the magical performance with Yasu Ishida. And, so today is the second day of Vista's Hanamatsuri festival. So if you weren't able to go yesterday, if you have time today, you could head out to Vista to support them. This morning, our service is being officiated by Reverend Smitty and assisted by Reverend Sterling. And thank you to Yukari for ringing the Kansho, and our organist today is Ann Ong. Okay, we'll begin this morning's service with a silent meditation led by Smitty Sensei.
It is the ever-present and confirmed rule of this world that everything is created by a series of causes and conditions, and everything disappears by the same rule. Everything changes, nothing remains the same. Gasho, Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Thank you. We will now have the Sutra chanting of the Juseige, and that can be found on page 35 of the service book.
Gagon chosegan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzo sefujo shogak gao muryoko fuidai seshu Husai shobingu Sehujo shogak Gashi jobundo Myosho chojipo Kukyo mishomon Sefujo shogak Ryokujin shonen Joeshu bongyo Shigumu jodo Isho teninshi Jinriki endaiko Fusho musaido Shoujo sankumyo Kosai shuyakunan Aihichi Shokusho Akudo Tsudaten Zen Shumon Koso Jo Manzo Ioro Jipo Nichigan Shujuki Tenko On Pugen Ishukai Hozo Koseku Dokuho Jo Dai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Butsu Gusoku Shutoku Hon Gan E Shinjo Man Toku Isan Gaio Nyo Buten Mugechi Tsudaten Mihu Sho Gangaku Evrik Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen Okando Koku Shotenin Touchin Myoke Namandabu 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 Ganishikudoku Yodo Seisai Dohoten Dodaishin Ojo Anrako. Sho namanda 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 namanda.
Thank you. Next, we'll call upon Reverend Smitty to present her Dharma message to the Dharma school students this morning. Sensei.
Okay, 2 questions. 1, who here is a Dharma school student? Anybody? Okay, let's rephrase it. Who here is a student of the Dharma? Oh, okay, great. See what happens when you change that perspective just a little bit? So, you know, those who are up at OCBC are missing out of our service here, and they're going to miss out on our Dharma school here. So they're going to have to catch up. Well, please join me this morning in Gassho. The whole idea of compassion is based on a keen awareness of the interdependence of all living beings, which are all part of one another and all involved in one another. Namo Amida, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. So, since everybody here is a student of the Dharma, whether they're a Dharma school student or not, many of you have probably learned from either Dharma school classes or from Dharma talks in the past that we have two key concepts in Buddhism, and these are impermanence and interdependence. So impermanence is a big word that, anybody know what it means? Or is it just a big word? Any student know what it means? Nothing is permanent. It means everything changes. Nothing is truly forever. There's nothing that will always remain exactly the same. And interdependence refers to, anybody have an idea? Another big word. No man is an island. It's a good way of putting it. It can also be considered that everything is one. All things are interconnected. Nothing exists as a singular, independent entity, all alone. So together, these ideas mean that our lives are a continuous process of change, rising and falling together, and always intertwined. All that we see in the world around us is part of an interconnected and fluctuating or changing process. Nothing is either constant or permanent or alone and separate. Think of impermanence and interdependence as the two I's. That's the two-letter I's of Buddhism, because both begin with the letter I. Yeah, absolutely. But you can also think of those two I's as the word EYE, or I, or Oho, for those who understand that better. And that refers to those peepers in your head. So the two eyes of Buddhism help us see the truth. Well, today I'd like to offer some thoughts to you on interdependence. So interdependence, as I said, is sometimes called that teaching of oneness, and that means that we don't exist by ourselves all alone. No man is an island. We're interconnected with the entire world, the entire universe. You know, rainforests thousands of miles from here provide us with oxygen that sustains our life. And plankton in the world's oceans, that does the same thing. And the sun, which is a whopping, anybody guess how far away? 93 million miles, maybe? That's pretty far. I don't think I've ever driven that far in my car. Anyways, it warms the earth and allows life to grow and thrive. So if the sun were to exhaust its energy and extinguish, it would likely go supernova and explode. And then all life on Earth would extinguish as the planet would rapidly become this third frozen chunk of rock that used to circle what was our sun. So despite this vast distance of 93 gazillion miles, we're not really separate from the sun. And we're not separate from the forests or the oceans. We're not separate from the earth. We exist as together, as one. We're all interconnected, and we're all interdependent. So interdependence is all around us. It's a part of us. We just don't recognize the existence of interdependence most of the time. So a flower, everybody knows what a flower is, right? Of course. Do you like flowers? Yes, they're pretty, aren't they? Well, a flower can't exist without sun and the air around it and nutrients in the soil. And anybody like dogs or kitties or mice or birds? Okay, they don't come into being, into existence without birth parents. So everything is part of a vast network of interconnected processes. A traditional example used in Buddhist sutras is this idea of three sticks that are leaning against each other, kind of standing upright, but holding each other up because they're leaning. Kind of like the base of the cameras here. It's a tripod. And if you take away one of those three sticks, what happens? It falls over. Yeah, it needs all three sticks to stay upright. If one stick is taken away, the other two fall to the ground. But you know, interdependence means more than just leaning on each other. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh used the example of a wooden table to illustrate interdependence. Maybe you can think about this wooden podium here. For this podium to exist, Thich Nhat Hanh would say that we need wood, we need a carpenter, we need time, we need skillfulness, and we need a lot of other causes. And each of these causes needs other causes and conditions in order to exist. The wood needs a forest, so it can grow. It needs sunshine and rain and so on. The carpenter needs parents, needs food for nourishment, needs fresh air to breathe, tools, a carpentry teacher, and so on. And then each of these things in turn has to be brought about by other conditions. So if we continue to look in this way, we see that nothing is left out. Everything in the universe has come together to bring us this simple wooden podium. So looking deeply at the sunshine and the leaves of the trees and the clouds and the rain, we can see the table actually within all of them. And then looking at the podium, we can see that it is made up of the sunshine, the leaves, and the trees, and the clouds, and the rain. The one, the wooden podium, can be seen in the all, and then all can be seen in the one, this wooden podium. So Thich Nhat Hanh is saying that everything exists within all things. But I have to admit, unlike Thich Nhat Hanh, most of us probably don't think too much about wooden tables or wooden podiums. So let's do an exercise about interdependence with something that a lot of us might like. Who here likes to eat pizza? Yeah, me too. Looks like maybe quite a few of us do. So let's suppose you ordered a cheese pizza from your favorite pizza place and had it delivered. And you open the box with steaming hot pizza in it and take out a slice, and just before you take that first delicious bite, you stop and ask yourself, how did this slice of pizza come into existence and show up at my door? Well, the pizza's made up of what? We've got usually a crust, right? And then sauce and cheese. And we won't even talk about toppings, that's all extra, right? So just a plain cheese pizza is hard enough to go through everything of. So how did that crust become a crust? It's probably made from wheat flour and yeast and water and perhaps olive oil and maybe a little sugar and salt. So where did the wheat flour come from? Is that where it originated? Okay. Yeah, it started at a field somewhere. Maybe the wheat was grown someplace like Kansas or North Dakota or Oklahoma. Maybe it was grown on a huge farm, or maybe it was grown here in California in a relatively small field. It had to be planted, right? And it took on sunlight and air and water to grow. And then it had to be harvested and threshed, whether by hand or huge machines. And the grain had to be moved to the market for sale or for the milling process. And so now we've involved not only farmers, but also truck drivers to get it moved around, and trucks. And trucks don't just drive everywhere they want to unless you're playing a video game. We need roads, not to mention the people who built those roads, and the people and the robots who built the trucks. And the grain has to be milled into flour. And now we've involved more people as the wheat is processed and milled and packaged. So it gets transported by perhaps another truck and driver to be sold to the pizza place. And all these things are involved already, and we still don't even have the crust yet. So the pizza maker has to combine the flour with all those things like water and salt and yeast and probably some other ingredients, maybe olive oil or spices, and each of those come from some other place through some other causes and conditions. The salt comes typically from either evaporating, seawater. Everybody's tasted seawater, right? There's salt in it. Or perhaps it was mined as rock salt. Yeast. Anybody know what yeast is? It's a tiny little microorganism, and it has to be grown or cultivated. And water has to be collected and cleaned and processed before we cook from it. We don't just go out to the local stream and get a cup of water and throw it in our pizza, right? Well, we have to grow olives on trees, and they have to be harvested and pressed into olive oil. And so all of these processes take inputs from natural elements and from people who help and make these things happen. And all of this is just for the crust. So all we have right now is crust. What about the sauce and cheese? If it's a tomato sauce, they have to be grown. And all those processes have to go through so that it can be turned from a tomato into sauce. And if it's cheese, it's usually from cow's milk. And so cows have to be milked. And now we have the cows involved again. And probably some farmers, and all these things have to take more sunshine and air and rain, and farmers, cows, feed for the cows, fertilizers for the tomatoes, truckers, trucks, roads, so on and so on and so on. So pizza doesn't just grow on trees, And if it did, which would be really cool because I'd be going out to my backyard every day and picking a fresh slice of pizza, it would still take sunshine and air and rain or water and perhaps fertilizer and lots of other things to make those magical pizza trees grow. But seriously, so much had to happen, and so many people were involved with your pizza before you even get to take that first bite. So much of the world is reflected in that one slice of pizza, and that slice of pizza is finally about to connect with you, or at least with your mouth. Yeah? So it could be exhausting if we break down every process and examine all the causes and conditions and all of the connections and all of the beings that were involved in making and delivering that pizza to your door. And don't forget about everything that goes into making the cardboard pizza box as well. And, oh yeah, your delivery driver and the car they brought it in. So more and more people and things and environment is involved in just getting that slice of pizza to your house. So that one slice of pizza is totally dependent on a countless number of others, which makes you about to eat the pizza interdependent with a countless number of others. Even though it was unlikely that all those people and beings purposefully intended to benefit you, the fact remains that without their efforts, you wouldn't have that slice of pizza to eat. You wouldn't have the food that sustains you. So each of us are dependent on and connected with so many others, most of whom we'll never get to know. We're so interdependent, so interconnected, that even a simple slice of cheese pizza involves a good part of the world. So maybe there's times that you're just sitting by yourself, feeling like you're kind of alone or isolated from others. Maybe you've been in a classroom or at a park or the beach or even here at temple. You're surrounded by people, but you still feel lonely. Perhaps instead of feeling disconnected, think about how interconnected you are to everything and everybody. Think about how interdependent we all are. Kind of like a giant connect the dots puzzle. Anybody here ever do connect the dots? Yeah? Yeah. At first, each numbered dot seems separate and kind of insignificant or meaningless all by itself. It's just a dot. But when you draw the lines in that connect all the dots together, this wonderful, interconnected, interdependent picture takes shape. And that's interdependence. So let's join our palms together in Gassho, which is a symbolic gesture of our interdependence and connection with Amida Buddha, all beings, all things, and we recite the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda.
Well, as students of the Dharma, thank you very much for that wonderful message, Smitty Sensei, on interdependence. Kind of, as Sensei was talking, giving her talk, it kind of reminded me of last weekend. Miss Avis and I, we attended the Dharma School Teachers Conference up in Fresno. And so, you know, Fresno is about 300 miles away. So as I'm driving up the freeway and we get it down into the Central Valley, you know, I noticed a lot of the farmlands, the grape orchard, the vineyards, and you see peach trees growing, and orange trees, and cotton fields, and what else do we see? Almond fields. So, you know, and then you see the cows out there, out there on the fields, and you see the mills that would process all the fruits and vegetables and so forth. And so it Sensei's message reminded me of all of that we saw last week. And then, of course, we got to our destination in Fresno, and we were able to meet with many Dharma school teachers from throughout the different temples, and got to reconnect with Freddie the Frog and the magician Yasu Ishida. So a lot of parallels with our trip last weekend to Fresno. Thank you, Sensei. Okay, will everyone please rise for the Gatha Namo Amida Butsu, and that can be found on page 122 of the service book. Thank you. Please remain standing for the recitation of the gratitude for the Jodo Shinshu teaching, and that can be found on the insert on the back page of the service book. Namo Amida Butsu. Entrust yourself to me. I will liberate you just as you are. This is the calling voice of Amida. My blind passions are embraced in the Buddha's awakening. So the Buddha calls to me. I will liberate you just as you are. Gratefully responding to the Buddha's call, I find that I'm already on the path that leads to the Pure Land, and the Nembutsu flows freely from my heart. Living with the Dharma as my guide softens my rigid heart and mind. Gratitude for the gift of life I have received frees me from becoming lost in the greed of anger and allows me to share a warm smile and speak gentle words. Sharing the kindness of others, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest. Kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any announcements at this time?
Okay. Good morning. I have two announcements. One, excuse me. Okay. The Federation Dharma School Teachers is looking to place another order for this itadakimasu with gratitude, Gatha and Monteshigisho. Okay. So if you're interested, let me know today because my form is going to close by tomorrow. So I can order ministers and an adult Monteshigisho like this, and we have children's one too. So I think the children's one is about $35. The adult Monteshigisho is about $50, and the ministers Gatha is $270. So if you would like one, please let me know. And then our Sangha teens is having a book off fundraiser. So if you have any books that you would like to donate that you don't need anymore, please bring it next week because I think next week, Sunday is our last day. Okay. Thank you.
The temple will be having its annual culture bazaar on June 7th, and we are looking for volunteers. There is a sign-up sheet downstairs in the office, so please sign up. Thank you.
Hello, two announcements. The Junior YBL is still selling their Obon t-shirt fundraiser, and I believe today is the deadline because I don't think we're going to be here on May 1st. And speaking of May, Mother's Day, our Mother's Day breakfast will be Sunday, May 10th from 8:30 to 9:45. Donations of $10. Mothers are free. I would say to see a Junior YBL, but I haven't seen them in a while. So come that day, we'll be ready for you. Hope to see you there.
Good morning. Just to nag you again, on behalf of the Obon Again shop, we are going to be having our big sale at the bazaar. I haven't let Ralph know that I would like the Sangha Hall, but anyway, it's one of the 2 times per year we open the shop. I need lots of volunteers. If you've not been a volunteer, it's actually kind of fun because you can find all your bargains for yourself, set them aside for you. Silent auctions, yeah, I know. You have to find a place for me, Ralph, Honda. Because our big fundraisers make money for the scholarship fund. We have made thousands of dollars for the scholarship fund over the years since we started this project. We take your things that you don't want anymore, your discards, and we make them into treasures, and we ask for a donation for those things, and those all go into the scholarship fund. So keep that in mind, please. Bring them to the temple. Right now we're gathering them in room 5. Maybe Katie won't like that because I think she's using that room for something. She's always using that room for something. Yeah, so just please bring them to the temple, and we will sort them out and turn them into money to benefit the scholarship fund. Thank you.
Thanks, Joyce. I'm Bill, and I just wanted to let folks know about Buddhism 123, especially our visitors. It's a Zoom session Wednesday evenings. Our plan this coming Wednesday is to invite all of the folks who signed up at the Cherry Blossom Festival to join us. We may get some additional people from there, and it will be an open session so we can answer all of your questions or listen to your comments about experiences you've had in this tradition or in Buddhism in general. Thank you very much.
Morning. I wanted to make the announcement that BWA is going to be sponsoring a movie showing of it's a free movie showing on May 31st, last Sunday in May, and it's a month away, but it's good to plan. It'll start around noon, and the movie is Rental Family. It's actually on Netflix, I think now. Is it? Yeah. Anyway, but it's going to be free here, and we'll be serving a light lunch for purchase if you are interested. So please save a date. Save the date for that. It's a really, if you've never heard of it, it takes place in Japan, and believe it or not, there is such a thing as renting people to pretend they're your family, your mom or grandmother or business, whatever. Anyway, you can rent people, so it's pretty amazing, but funny, and heartwarming. Thanks.
Thank you for all the announcements today. Lots of things happening around here. Okay, at this time, we'll excuse the Dharma School for their classes. So if you'd like, please come up for Oshoko. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll now continue on with the adult portion of the service, and that will begin with the reading of the Vandana Sarana on page 96.
And please chant all parts of this with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangam saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Kansho, namanda, 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 namanda.
Thank you. Now, Smitty Sensei will share her Dharma message.
Well, if everyone would please join me again in Gassho, or with our palms together. With a foolish being full of blind passions in this fleeting world, this burning house, all matters without exception are empty and false, totally without truth and sincerity. The Nembutsu alone is true and real. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. So good morning again. Is anybody beside me hungry for pizza right now? I wouldn't blame you if you were. So if I talk to Dharma school and all the Dharma students here about interdependence, which core tenet of Buddhism or I word do you think I'm going to dwell on now? Impermanence. Or the idea that change happens. So nothing of our Saha world is truly forever. There's nothing belonging in samsara that will always remain exactly the same. And as Shakyamuni Buddha taught us, all things in this world are constantly changing. They say everything is empty and temporary. There's no essential, unchangeable essence of things. An even more uncomfortable realization is that there's no permanent self. We are all subject to change. So, impermanence really is a very important concept in Buddhism, but it's not always an easy concept to accept. To many of us, change is at least uncomfortable, sometimes unbearable. Change can be unsettling, and yet we're taught in Buddhism that change is unavoidable. Change is necessary. Change is true. The Buddha implored us not to just talk about impermanence, but to use it as an instrument to help us penetrate deeply into reality and obtain liberating insight. So remember, impermanence is one of the two eyes that help us see the truth. We may be tempted to say that because things are impermanent, there's suffering in this world. But the Buddha would encourage us to look again and realize that without impermanence, life itself is not possible. How can we transform our suffering if things are actually permanent? How can we get beyond being a baby, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, middle-aged, old age, if there's no impermanence? How can our current situation improve or advance? How can the situation of our country or the world improve? You know, we need impermanence for personal growth, for social justice, and even for hope. Failing to recognize that we too are subject to impermanence, that is, clinging to that notion of a permanent self, can actually lead to even greater pain and suffering. While the teaching of impermanence might seem easy to understand, fully embracing this truth can be quite challenging, especially when we confront it, or especially when impermanence kind of smacks us in the face. Experiencing the working of Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion can help us move forward in accepting and realizing this difficult truth and this undeniable reality. So if we suffer, it's not because things are impermanent or things don't stay the way we want them to. It's because we believe that things are permanent. You know, we're taught that the flowers on the onaijin symbolize beauty in life, but also the truth of impermanence. The flowers are cut while they seem to be still alive. They have beauty, they have their fragrance, but they're no longer actually living. They're no longer growing plants. So when a flower dies, we don't suffer much because we understand that flowers are impermanent. But just like those flowers, people are impermanent too. But most of us can't accept the impermanence of our family and good friends nearly as easily, and we suffer deeply when they pass away. We have yet again an even harder time accepting that we ourselves are impermanent. If we look deeply into impermanence and accept it as a truth, we would do our best to make sure that our loved ones, our family, our friends are loved and happy right now. We would do our best to let them know how much they mean to us and how much we love them. So aware of impermanence, we become more positive and giving and wise. Impermanence is actually good news, because without impermanence, things wouldn't be possible. With impermanence, every door is open for change. And impermanence is an instrument for our liberation. So there's a story that is usually told to kids, but I think adults will understand this. I'm hoping that adults will understand this story. Kids usually get it, but, you know, adults sometimes have trouble with these things. It's a story about a rabbit who lived on the edge of the forest near a large field. And one day, as he was crossing the field, the rabbit found a tasty carrot. Sometimes I picture Bugs Bunny hopping along, and he comes across a cartoon carrot and starts chewing on it and asks, "What's up, Doc?" Anyways, after nibbling the carrot for a while, the rabbit decided to hide the rest of it for later. And so he finally found a good spot in the grass to hide it and looked around for a marker to show him where it was located. And as he surveyed the field, all that he could see were these tufts of green grass, each bunch of grass looking the same as the one next to it. So he looked up, and there in the sky he saw this big, puffy cloud right above him. And the rabbit thought, "I'll use that big cloud as my marker for where I've hidden my carrot." And satisfied with his plan, the rabbit hopped off to play. And after a while, the rabbit became hungry again and returned to the field to reclaim his food. But when he looked up, the sky was bright blue without a cloud in sight, and the little rabbit cried in frustration. So if we kind of laugh at the little rabbit for being silly and believing that cloud was going to stay there and mark his carrot all day, you know, we're really laughing at our foolish selves. Just as the rabbit thought the clouds were permanent, we too tend to suffer because we don't realize the truth of impermanence. Understanding the reality of change and impermanence on an intellectual level is one thing. Understanding it on a deeper level, internalizing the truth and accepting it no matter what comes our way, is really far more difficult. You know, our possessions and belongings will deteriorate. Our cars will break down. Our phones and electronics will age, and they'll glitch, and they'll brick or stop working. Our homes will age and fall into disrepair. Our own bodies will age and glitch and eventually stop functioning. No matter how carefully we take care of these things or try to keep them shiny and new, they inevitably change and decay. Yet we continue to experience grief and suffering when confronted with impermanence because we fight this truth. We want things to be a certain way. We want them to be the way we want them. We don't want them to change. We want our friends, family, and ourselves to stay the same. We don't want to accept mortality. We want that cloud to always mark our stashed carrot. We don't want to admit that it won't stay in place forever. So when we first purchase something, let's say a new car, for example, it certainly doesn't appear to be impermanent. You know, it sits there all bright and shiny and fresh off the lot or out of the vending machine if you get one of those cars from Nirvana or Carvana. It has that new car smell and temporary tags, and it doesn't look like it will ever get old, dinged up, scratched, or rusty and dirty, or completely fall apart 2 weeks after the warranty expires. The new car appears to be solid and permanent, as if it will always look the way it does right now. But this appearance is completely misleading. And as the Buddha repeatedly pointed out, nothing that we perceive through our five senses remains the same from one moment to the next. Everything is constantly changing. The real problem isn't that things appear to be permanent, it's that we buy into this false appearance and mistake it for reality. Then, when things begin to fall apart, we experience grief and anxiety. Intellectually, we understand the truth of impermanence. Emotionally, we behave as though things will last forever. Our lives can be compared to a river. Each life is a progressive moment, a successive series of different moments, joining together to give the impression of one continuous flow. It moves from cause to cause, effect to effect, condition to condition, one point to another, one state of existence to another. And this river of life is merely giving an outward impression that it's one continuous unified movement, although in reality it's not. The river of yesterday is not the same as the river of today. The river at this moment is not going to be the same as the river of the next moment. And yes, this river is a metaphor for our lives, and it changes continuously because something different becomes of us moment to moment. So, take for example, your own life. It's a fallacy to believe that you would remain the same person for an entire lifetime. I'm not even talking about the noticeable changes from baby to kid to adult and from year to year. You change every moment. So even from a scientific viewpoint, this is true. We all know that cell divisions take place in each living being continuously. Old cells of our body die and are replaced continuously by the new ones that are forming. The average person has roughly 1.6 trillion skin cells. Consider that between 30 and 40,000 skin cells fall off our body every minute. And I use the term fall off to say that they just are no longer functioning. They die. About 2 million skin cells are lost within an hour. And over a 24-hour period, a person loses almost 5 billion skin cells. So setting Buddhism aside, just on this scientific level, you aren't the same person that you were 24 hours ago. You aren't even the same person you were an hour or so ago when you walked into the temple. There are about 2 million old skin cells that left your body and about 2 million new ones that joined it. And we haven't even addressed the other psychological, physiological, or spiritual changes that you've gone through in this time. So impermanence and change are undeniable truths of our very existence. Impermanence can mean that nothing remains exactly the same for 2 consecutive moments. There's a Greek philosopher, I'm going to mess up the name, I'm sure, Heraclitus, who lived around the same time as Shakyamuni Buddha. And Heraclitus said, everything changes and nothing remains still. You cannot step into the same stream twice. Of course, if they had actually known each other and lived on the same side of the world together, or maybe communicated through social media, the Buddha might have replied, you cannot step into the same stream once. So think about that. The stream is always flowing, constantly changing. If you look at one spot in the stream, every moment the water is continuously being replaced by different water. If you try to step into that one spot in the stream, it's not even the same spot as when your big toe or your foot first came into contact with the water. That's a very vivid example of that truth of impermanence. Well, it might be easy for me to declare that, well, of course I understand the truth of impermanence. I continue to live in this burning house. I continue to live in this mundane world, this house ablaze with a fire fueled by cravings and anger and denial, a displeasure with change, and a desire for constancy. Perhaps as we consider the impermanence of all things, including our own lives, we may awaken to the truth that this life is precious and unrepeatable. Perhaps we'll abandon all which is empty and false, letting go of that which is totally without truth and sincerity. And perhaps we'll instead embrace the Nembutsu, the only thing which is true and real, and our lives will be lived a little bit more fully by us. So please join me again in Gassho as we together voice the truth of the Nembutsu. Namo Amida, Namanda, 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 Namanda.
Thank you, Sensei, for sharing your message this morning on impermanence and how we are all challenged daily with, our changing lives and everything that surrounds us. Okay, well, everyone, please rise for the Gatha Ondokusan on page 128. Gassho, Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namanda. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, will everyone put your hands together with a closing meditation? In this foolish being filled with blind passion, living this impermanent world of a burning house, all things are empty and vain, therefore untrue. Only the Nembutsu is true, real, and sincere. Words of Shinran Shonin. Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Well, this concludes our service for this morning. I'd like to thank all of you for attending. Thank you to Reverend Smitty for officiating, and to our ministerial team for their assistance with getting things ready for us this morning. And thank you to Ann Ong and to our tech team of Brevin and Ken for providing the live stream for those who are viewing the service this morning. Please join us for hospitality downstairs in the dining room, hosted today by the BWA. So thank you for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. You're welcome to come up to burn incense as you depart the Hondo. Thank you.
I like the Dharma school, like, I'm the Dharma school, I'm not talking. Right, that's